Welcome back to Season 3 of Beyond Kalidasia, the show that takes you behind the scenes of the Kalidasia universe. I'm Jason, the creator of Legends of Kalidasia, and now this game right here, Kalidasia Fleet Commander, which is available for sale over at the game's website at kalidasia.com. But for now, let's get back to talking about my tabletop game design process using Fleet Commander as an example. And we're in the middle of the beta design phase. In particular, we're talking about playtesting, so let's get started. Playtesting is important in almost every portion of the tabletop game design process because it's really your only true form of feedback. It's the way you can see how players play the game and really learn what works and what doesn't. It's simply false to imagine that you can think your way into a solution in tabletop game design, or that you can imagine how a mechanic's going to work and it's just going to work that way. That simply is not how things happen in the tabletop game design process. You have to play it, you have to try it, record stats, and look for trends and see what works and what doesn't. Now, of course, the goals of playtesting vary from phase to phase, and in the beta phase, it's all about clarifying details and fixing bugs. During the beta design phase, you're going to have two groups of players. One's going to be your core group, and the other ones are going to really do the heavy lifting. They're going to play the game again and again and again, and a lot of the detail is going to be clarified by them, as well as game balance is going to be done a lot by this core group because they really understand your game, they really understand the tactics, what works and what doesn't. Now, ideally, you should be taking your game also to where the general public can play it, in particular game conventions, game stores, and places like that. Now, while these players don't really have a very good idea of the game's tactics and strategies, you can still learn a lot from them, but more on that in just a bit. When I talk about clarifying details, what I'm doing is basically finding a way to answer all these questions that come up during the playtesting process. How does this interact with this? Which rule takes precedent? And so on. Because when you start writing your rules for the first time, it's basically impossible to anticipate all these little details that are going to come up, but they're going to come up during playtesting. So when they come up, write them down and kind of go back to your rules and figure out how to answer them within the context of your rules. Maybe reorder a few things, change a few terms, but try not to add lots of stuff to answer these questions. That just makes your rules bulkier, harder to follow, and just overall a less quality experience. Now, the problem here is there really isn't any way to predict when these things are going to come up because by their very nature, they're unexpected. However, as your rule set becomes more complete and you do more play testing, the occurrence of these details will essentially approach zero. Now, one thing you can structure playtesting for is game balance. Come up with all your different tests in terms of you have all your different strategies and tactics and face them off against each other again and again and again until you're basically sick of playing your game. And therefore, you can kind of look back at that data and just look for any trends in terms of, was this strategy really powerful? Did it win a lot? Did this one lose a lot? Or whatever it may be. And try to get a game balance based on where pretty much any tactic can really beat any tactic given the skill level of the player. For example, with Legends of Kalidasia, when I was writing the Admiral Rules pack, I created 6 Surakari fleets, 6 Aragul fleets, and I faced them off in a ton of games. After that, I dropped off the fleets that did really poorly because I didn't want bad fleet construction to affect the game balance. And then I kind of went through and compared the point value of a given unit to approximately on average how many points it earned during a game, and based on that ratio of that particular unit to other units, I was able to figure out just how balanced the game was. So let's talk a bit more about powerful strategies. If you can come up with some kind of gameplay strategy that is so powerful your playtest team can't beat it, then well, that's a very serious problem. Something must be done. Now, powerful strategies in general really aren't a bad thing unless they end up forcing your players to take certain actions to counter them. Because if that happens where the only way to beat strategy X is to take reaction Y, what you've really done is create a 2-hour-long game of paper, rock, scissors, and let's face it, paper, rock, scissors is only fun because it's 10 seconds and not 2 hours. Finally, I want to talk a little bit more about using random people in the playtesting process. One of the biggest problems with a core group of playtesters is groupthink. They all think the same way, so they play the game the same way, they try the same strategies, they interpret the rules the same, all that kind of stuff. When you have players from outside this group come in and try your game, they approach from a new perspective. They're going to try strategies you never thought of because they really don't know how to play the game. They're going to interpret rules differently because they're new to the game and things like that. So they're going to find problems, especially in terms of rule interpretation and clarification, that frankly your group probably would just miss because they just all interpreted the rules the same way. So this random players from who knows where they come from is a great way to break through the problems caused by groupthink. Playtesting is a major part of the beta design phase, and it can be a real grind. Trust me, you can get sick of playing your own game. It happens all the time. If that is the case with you, just go ahead, take a little break, and then come back and get right back into the swing of things. It's alright, those kind of things happen. But hopefully this episode gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect in terms of playtesting. If you have any more questions for me, you can send me an email at kalidasiagames@gmail.com. If you want to purchase a copy of Kalidasia Fleet Commander or learn more about the Kalidasia universe, head over to the game's website at kalidasia.com. Once again, I'm Jason. Thanks for watching.